Ladies and gentlemen, here's another video to add to my unofficial series about Americans are so dumb that this is how dumb Americans are. Not all, but many, millions of them. So imagine that there is a government program that is designed to protect you from being scammed by your employer in terms of, let's say there's a huge problem where employers are scamming their employees. Like, for example, you get hired for a certain salary and they don't even pay you half of what what you got hired for. And they basically lie somehow with the paperwork, or it's some kind of scheme. Somehow they take money out of your check based on whatever it is. It's dishonest. It's a total scam. And let's say that the Democrats push for a department in the government to address this, right? And let's say that 45% of reported cases of scams, legitimate cases of scams, only 45% of them actually get taken care of, where this agency comes in and they make things right. They find the company for their lies and scams or whatever it is. First of all, number one, I guarantee you, people like Ben Shapiro, Steven Crowder are going to tell you how this program is awful and it's against the free markets and it's a scam and it's designed to help big pharma or whatever it is, right? Guarantee you, if there is anything designed to help regular Americans, poor and middle class, whether it is not really good, it's decent, or it's kind of good but could be better, whatever on the scale, if it's designed to help us, right, it's going to be attacked by Republicans and right-wing media, guaranteed, right? They're trying to give money to other countries in terms of wars and things like that. They're not going to be that focused on that. But it's definitely going to be a lot of animosity for any programs that are designed to help Americans. But here's the point I want to make, though. 45% response rate, which is pretty bad, right? You're only responding to less than half of the people that reach out to you. That means a ton of people are getting scammed and they're reaching out and they're on hold and they never come around to it and it never gets resolved, right? Somebody like Trump comes around and he says, this organization is a fraud, it's a Democrat fraud, whatever it is, it's anti-American, it's woke, right? And then he cancels that department, removes it, shuts it down, right? Then you have people saying, hey man, this was actually a good organization that was helping people. This is bad that Trump shut it down. Then you'll have a bunch of people that will defend it and defend Trump's actions and say, hey, that program was garbage. That program, like a lot of people, it wasn't even helping people, right? Bunch of people, I know people that reached out and never got any responses and da-da-da-da-da. But here's where the real stupidity comes in. So they rightfully recognize that there were huge problems with this program. They rightfully recognize that only 45% of the people reaching out got assistance. However, they completely ignore the 45% of people who were helped by this organization, right? A ton of people got help, right? The government actually did right by them. There's no acknowledgement of that whatsoever. But that's not the big point. The bigger point is, what next? The people who will defend Trump destroying this organization, smearing it and saying it's garbage or whatever it is, right? People will defend this action without any thought process in terms of what next. So you had something that was helping people, but not nearly enough. A lot of flaws in it. Part of the flaws might be they were understaffed, and Republicans, of course, didn't want to give more money so they could be properly staffed. So a big problem with this organization could be that it's run lean by the very same people who want to shut it down. But here's the thing. Why would going from having an organization that's helping 45% of the people who reach out to it, why would getting rid of that so that 0% of people get help? Because the organization that was there to help people, right, which wasn't doing a very good job, probably because of staffing and funding, now it's gone. So now are even worse. That is how stupid a lot of Americans are. You can get them to support removing something that might actually be there to help them, even if it might not help as much as it should. You can get them to support removing that without even pretending that you're going to replace it with something better. So it was helping 45% of people, which is pretty bad, and I'm just gonna get rid of it. So now we have nothing? Think about that. They're not even sharp enough to think, yeah, this thing sucked, but what are you gonna replace it with? Doesn't even cross their mind. They're just stuck. It's like they can only think about one thing at a time. This organization sucked and blah, blah. Same thing with like the DMV. I know people complain about the DMV. I complain about DMV. Long lines. Sometimes you get bad customer service. And then you could go around and say, you know what? We're going to slash the DMV budget by 50% because DMV is wasteful. We have these employees that are hanging around and they're not even doing any work and it's people waiting in line. So let's cut it by 50%. And you'll have a bunch of people say, yeah, cut them. DMV is garbage. So now, instead of having to wait a month for an appointment to renew your license, now you gotta wait 6 months. And that's somehow better? That's American logic. Americans are just dumb. Case in point, one of the reasons that Americans are so dumb is because our schools, right? And you have a bunch of people who recognize that. And you can go and say, the Department of Education sucks, let's shut it down. And they're like, yes, shut it down because our schools are failing. Again, no mention of improving it. I mean, that's one strategy. Instead of shutting it down, you could improve it, right? You could invest in it and make it better, right? Increase teacher salaries so you could recruit better teachers, right? But the alternative is it's so bad, it's a bag of worms. You could replace it with something better. But with no talk about replacing with something better, you have a bunch of Americans that would support shutting down something that didn't it wasn't doing nothing. It may not have been doing enough, but it wasn't doing nothing. It was doing something. The Department of Education was doing something, right? It was definitely failing in many ways, but it was doing something. So if you remove the Department of Education and you don't have a plan on what to replace it with, and the people who are supporting you aren't even thinking on that level, they're just like, yeah, shut it down. Then what does that mean? So we weren't getting enough education as it was. Now we're going to go ahead and shut down Department of Education. So education will be even worse. How does that make things better? The analogy I like to use is you have a car that sucks. It's very unreliable. It's smoke coming out the pipe. It's making these weird noises, right? It stinks. But it gets you to work usually. Maybe 95% of the time you make it to work without breaking down, right? Which is, it's pretty bad. You should have a car that will get you there 100%, at least 99% of the time, right? But 95% of the time you get to work. So 5% of the time you break down, it's a disaster, right? So what do? You burn the car to the ground. Now we're not talking about insurance fraud or whatever. You literally just destroy the car, and now you have, and then other people are like, yeah, destroy that thing, man. That car was garbage. But now you have no car. Now you gotta take the bus. It's this mentality I see so many times. People get so focused on negativity, right? You're focused on the bad of a thing, and you totally ignore any of the good of the thing, such that you will support completely destroying something so that so things are even worse. Like what? Why don't we use that same mentality with the police and the military, right? The police department, it takes so long to respond. That's why you should have your own gun. You got to protect yourself. Don't rely on the police, right? So you know what? Let's slash the police budget by 50%. That'll help, right? Our military, it's really woke, right? It's so woke and it's embarrassing, and our military readiness is not what it should be. So you know what? Let's slash the Pentagon budget. I'm not talking about just getting rid of some woke programs. I'm talking about let's slash the budget in half. That'll help. That'll make us more military ready. And let's also attack the veteran benefits such that even less people are going to want to sign up for the military. So we'll have even less people in there. We'll have to lower the standards. We'll have to do DEI just to get people to sign up. That'll help, right?